I'm back in the chair of doom, and it is my job to tell another story that Pei says that I must tell, and it's a little longer than just kind of short, but it's longer, but it is a very good story, because we were going out to the place down about halfway between Nairobi and the coast in Mombasa. And we knew where we were going, and I knew we were going there, so I had 4 different Compa pastors with me, and we were going to go down and start a church. So we wandered off down there and got to the place, and they said, turn in here, and I turned in there, and they said, park your car over there. And I said, where's the place we're going? They said, it's just a little bit by here. No African has ever, they don't even know what the word little bit or karibu to means. We got out and started walking, and we started walking in kind of grass that's up to your knees. And there's a path there, we're walking along, and I also looked down, and there was a cow patty about that big. I looked at that thing, and I turned to one of those guys and said, what is that? And then he said, it's kiboko. And that means the good old buffalo. And I said, where are we? And he said, we're at the very edge of Salvo National Park. And I thought, I cannot believe that we're in this park going to a church. So we finally worked our way up to the place. Of course, nobody's there because we hadn't rung the bell. And so that little rod, they beat the bell, you know, bang, bang, bang. And we sat down and waited. And about 45 minutes later, they started showing up. Not a lot, maybe 10 people. And they wanted to make sure that I had a proper place. So they had a board that fitted across like this, across two sticks like this. And I was sitting on it. Boy, that thing was not comfortable. I don't fit on a board about that big, I can tell you, any way you look at it, I'm on. And I was sitting there thinking, God, I've got to be here for no telling how long. Because they were talking and yakking and going and talking. I said, we'll be here all day long. So I decided I was going to have to do something to take away my interest in what was happening. It was all in another language that I didn't know, is in Kamba. So I thought, well, I'll just think about some things. About that time, I saw some ants coming by. And they're army ants, and they were just kind of like marching about 5 abreast. Just marching along like that, marching right toward me. And they came by and walked right past me and walked on past. And I thought to myself, nobody in church ever has that much fun with a songbook, which they write in it and try to find what somebody wrote in. To see that guy watching those ants come past there. And I thought, this has been okay, I can make it. And then about 30 minutes later, and been there about 2 hours by that time, all of a sudden, I heard this buzzing noise behind my head, and I didn't want to look around and see what it was, but I was pretty sure it's a bug, but I didn't think it'd bother me. And all of a sudden, that stung me, you can imagine where. My rear end sitting off that part of me hanging over that stick, and it was a Tsetse fly, and they do bite. And when he bit me, I can jump right up straight in the air and yell, "La!" They thought I'd gotten the spirit. I don't know what they thought. But they kind of thought, what happened, boy? And I said, it's just a bug bit me. That's okay, I'll sit down. I got down. And I could hear that thing going around. And all I could think was, they know the difference between white people and black people. That guy knows not to mess with the black people because they're dirty. So I'll just mess with this white man over here. He's okay. Now that was about the most horrible experience I've ever had, just sitting at a church service. But on this same road going down, on another time, we made our way through and we got into Machakos and turned, we were going to a town called Makwini. And that was way off down somewhere. I didn't know where it was in the map. I didn't even know if they even had a map. And so we started driving and we drove 2 hours on dirt roads, little dirt roads. And finally I said, where are we going? And they said, we're just about there. And we stopped, and this guy got out and ran in. I said, where are we? And he said, at his house. I said, what do you mean at his house? He said, he wants to pick up some corn, maize. And so he brought out this corn and a chicken. And he put the maize in there and put the chicken in there. And off we went again. And we had not gone. We had another 2 hours to drive. And we got finally to the place where we turned off to go to Makawani. Turned, and the road was no longer just little dirt road. This was a one-track road, and you were on one track this way and nothing. The other track was on nothing. We had a flat when we got out there. Lucky for me, I had 2 tires that day. And I got out, started to come back, and I looked, and we also had a flat another tire. and which meant now I had 3 tires, and I couldn't go any farther. So I stopped, and I said, "Oh Lord, I promise you, if you get me out of here, I'll never put you in this position again as long as I live." And I mean, I prayed that prayer, because 2 of those guys said, "I tell you what we'll do, we'll take the spare and we'll go down the road and see if we can't get it fixed." I said, "Where are you going to get fixed in Makawani? Man, there's nothing around here." I said, "Where are we this time?" We were on the other side of DeSalvo National, you know, east and west, and we were on the other side of that thing. So I got up on the top of the car, and I thought, this is about the safest place I can get. And I prayed, "God, I promise you, you get me out of here, I will never, never put you in this place again." Well, about 6 o'clock, 6:30, here came the 2 guys back with the tire fix. So we got it in there and took off. We got to the first place we had. When we finally got to the highway, you're not going to believe we drove about 5 miles, and we were to the highway, main highway between Nairobi and Mombasa. We'd been driving on dirt roads this whole time. So we turned and started going down, and it was about 9 o'clock, I guess, when we got home, wasn't it? Well, I pulled in. "Oh, Peg," said, I'm so glad to see you." And she said, I called Boyd and told Boyd that you didn't get in. And you said you'd be in by 4 o'clock, and here it is 9 o'clock, and you're not in." And Boyd said, "Okay, I'll get some guys, and we'll go start hunting for him down in Ukambani." So I tried to call over and catch Boyd Pierce, and he had already left, and I said, "Well, that's too bad." Well, he'd already gotten down. You called him about 7, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And so he'd already been 2 hours. We missed each other passing like this on the way. He got to Manchakas and went to the police station and talked to him. He said, "Have you had any wrecks out here this afternoon?" He said, "Yes, we have. We had a Peugeot 504 wrecked." And he said, "What color?" And he said, "White." And he said, "Anybody hurt?" And he said, "All of them killed." And Boyd said, all I could think about, I'm going to have to go home and pack up Peggy and send her home. And so they began to look out that way. They said, "No, everybody's black in that car." And so they began to drive a little bit, and they finally said, "Boy, we're never going to find him on this road. So let's turn around and go back." So they came back to a phone, wasn't it, in Machakas again. He called, and of course, by that time, it was about 11, and I was asleep. Phone rang, and I picked up, "Hello." "Oh, I knew that was you. I knew you were safe." And I said, "Pierce, you know the Lord protects his good children." And he just laughed and said, "Man, don't ever do this to me again." So anyway, that was probably the one that could have brought our house down.